Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Amanda. It is March here in Idaho, March 19th, and our garden has just now thawed enough that we could start working it. We had the chickens on our garden over the winter. We just took them off, and yesterday I went through and broad forked just to loosen up the soil and get it ready for amendments. I've got compost, and then I have some alfalfa pellets that I'm going to be spreading just as a slow release nitrogen fertilizer. And then I also have some Redmond salt. Now this is salt that is naturally mined. It's got minerals in it. And I'm going to spread just a little bit over our garden. Our garden is 20 by 30, and so that gives you an idea of the square footage. And then the recommended amount of salt was 1/2 pound to 1.5 pounds. So I've got about a pound here, and I'm just going to spread it very lightly so that I don't kill any of the plants, but also add some minerals back to the soil. So I'm going to get started doing that, and then I've also pulled all of the bark off the top of the beds so that I can put the compost and the amendments directly on the beds, and then I'll cover it with bark when I'm done. Most of the bark that we put on last year has already broken down, so there wasn't much to pull off, but I went ahead and pulled it off because if you have that bark in your soil and it's in the layers where your plants are growing, it will soak up the nitrogen, but if it's on top, then it'll just keep the moisture in and your plants will be able to access that nitrogen. This is a close-up of the salt that I'm using. This is Redmond's animal salt, and you can see the different colors, and those colors are the minerals, copper and other minerals that are naturally in the salt. And if you're asking why do we need to mineralize the soil, it's because the plants will actually take up the minerals and then we will have access to them in our diet. And also vegetables that are grown in mineralized soil have a longer storage period and stay nice and crisp longer. So now I'm going to spread alfalfa pellets everywhere except where I want to plant my peas. If peas have too much nitrogen, they will actually just put out foliage and not blooms, and we don't want that. These alfalfa pellets, as they get wet, they will swell, and then they'll break down over time, so it's like a slow release fertilizer. And so I just spread them very sparsely throughout the garden, and then I may add more later. Alright, all that's left is the compost, and then we'll rake the bark back over the top. I want to show you a close-up of our compost that we're using. We actually had the chicken run here 2 winters ago, and we put down wood chips in the chicken run to keep them dry, and mixed with all the wet and chicken manure, the wood chips really broke down. That's some nice black compost, and we'll be putting that all over the garden. I'd like to put a couple inches, but I don't have that much. And I do want to show you what the soil looks like underneath as well. Normally I don't dig, I just broad fork with a pitchfork. And what that does is it allows the soil to remain intact. But just for the sake of seeing what it looks like down there, I'm going to dig down and turn some over, and you can already see the earthworms. There's 4, 5, 6, 7. So all that microbial activity that's down a foot deep stays where it's at, and you just add to the top. So here's a view of the soil with just the compost and the amendments. And then after I spread the wood chips back over the top as a covering, it looks like this. And I'm pleased with how well the soil is being built. This started out as just a parking space. There's some gravel and it was pretty hard packed. And this method of gardening with the no-dig is really working to loosen up the soil. So I'm going to sign off and finish up my work here, but hopefully you guys get some good ideas from this video, and we will catch you on the next one.